Hi, my name is Eline, and with this podcast I dive deep into the world of chronic illness. What is living with a chronic illness like? What are ways to redefine your purpose when life hit you so hard? How do people do this? I am on the lookout for answers to find out if there is a way to have a life filled with freedom, joy and happiness, even when it feels like you're a prisoner in your own body. Welcome. Welcome back to the Spoonies Community Podcast, episode 2. I'm here with my co-host and my amazing husband, Marcus Bask.
Hi, everyone.
And we are going to continue with the conversation that we had about my story, aren't we?
Yeah. Now we're going on to the next section.
Yeah, we ended with a massive cliffhanger, right?
Yes.
Before we move on, obviously we're a few days further down now since recording our first episode. What was it like for you recording it?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on some things that I've not thought about for a while. I think some of those topics don't feel as raw as they did maybe a few years ago when we used to look back. And now, I've seen a psychologist, obviously, over the last few years, and that helped me with some of those things that we were going through. So now when I think about the first accident or all of the caring that we had to do, our time in London, time in Amsterdam, yeah, it feels okay actually talking about it. But I did get upset on some of the topics because I just remember how difficult it was for both of us, for our families, for our friends. And we were just navigating a world that we really didn't understand. And I think we were struggling to get a grasp of it and a hold of it, and everyone was influencing. And I think that was just, it was a difficult time for all of us. But I think now when I look back at it, I know that we did so much, we came so far. Now, I also look at it as like we've created actually a lot of new opportunities and a new life for us that's taken a completely different direction. But as we'll get into in this episode, actually a direction that we're both thriving in, where we're living, what we're doing, that type of stuff. So yeah, difficult, but I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that makes it easier. When
we obviously finished our last episode, we were both quite emotional.
Yeah.
What was the emotion for you?
Yeah, sadness for both of us, and sadness for the two of us all those years ago. Yeah. Like I know what that felt like at that moment, and I know how, as we are about to talk about, that second accident that happens, we were both like, oh my God, we know exactly what's about to come up. We know the caring that's going to be involved. We know the physio that's going to be involved for you. And we know that it's not a 1 month process. We knew that we were then going to have years again of difficulty. And so I think it was just sadness for knowing what's about to happen. And just feeling sorry for us in essence. I just remember us both being exhausted and just so tired and just not really, we didn't have the energy to go again, really. We thought we knew that we'd come out of it. And now we were like, okay, we're going to have to root back to square one. Yeah. And that was quite difficult. And for you, looking back on it, did we touch on everything you wanted to touch on for the first episode and what happened in the first accident?
Yeah, I think so. But I was, you know what? I woke up this morning and I was thinking, there is so many things that we didn't talk about.
No,
there's so many angles and subjects. Like CRPS isn't, obviously having the diagnosis of CRPS, but then I realized this morning, I was like, it's not only the pain. CRPS affected so many different areas of my life, like the brain fog. I was unable to work, not having energy, not being able to focus, not being able to focus on conversations, being extremely forgetful.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit.
Yeah, so like...
ironic.
Right? Yeah. But like, I was thinking like, it's not only the pain, like there's so much more to it. And I think those are things that we haven't touched on, but that's also okay because, I'm sure we will touch upon all of those different angles in upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
I think in the grand scheme of things, there's so much to the story where, how can you possibly summarize 7 years in, a total 2 episodes, like 1.5 hours? There is so much more to it. And those are things that I really want to go into in upcoming episodes as well, because I want people who hear this and listen to this to truly feel that I have been through all of those situations as well. Like, how do you navigate not working?
Yeah.
How do you navigate being super ambitious and super driven and not having an outlet for it?
Yeah.
You know, like those things. So, yeah, but I guess it just gave me new ideas as well of, you know, topics to go into depth a little bit more.
No, I hear you. And as you're talking about this, you know, we have topics like intimacy. You know, how are you intimate with your partner when, you know, you've got one leg up on 5 pillows?
Exactly.
But that is part of it. Or, you know, how do you go on holiday? How do you go on do trips away with each other when there's a new norm? Like, part of this was quite funny, and again, future topics, but like, we went to New York on holiday and everyone was telling us, don't go to New York, oh my god, it's going to be super scary, how can you do that with a wheelchair? But we did it. But there are things that maybe people are worried about doing, but we did it like head first. But yeah, there's a ton of topics that we haven't touched upon, but we've got lots more episodes that we can cover on.
We left at me falling off my bike.
Yes.
In front of the house.
Yes.
Without you being there.
Yeah. Ironically, I was 500 meters away, but wasn't quite close enough to be there. Yeah.
So let's go back to that moment. So I cycled home, and obviously at the last episode I spoke about, you know, the differences in bikes, etc. Yeah. So when I got off my bike, I knew, well, I didn't get off my bike. When I knew that I was kicking the bike from under my own body, it felt like everything went into slow motion. So I knew, I was like, no, not on my left leg. Fully landed with quite some pace and speed on my left leg.
Yeah.
And whilst that was happening, it literally felt like that whole moment got into slow motion, landing on my left leg, and then kind of jumping off to go as quickly as possible onto my right leg. And by doing so, twisting, hearing a snap, and laying on the floor.
Yeah.
I was laying on the floor, there was no one around, and I started screaming of pain, like screaming. And then, bless our new next door neighbor, they literally were there for a week. She came out like running. She had a newborn who was 1 week old, and she came out of the house running and like, oh my God, what happened? But she, at that point, didn't know the full story. No. So she immediately called the emergency services, and I was, again, panicking. And all I was able to say was like, no, not again, not again, not again, not again. She basically called the ambulance, and the ambulance said, and I'm still angry up until this day, they said, is she breathing? Is she not bleeding? Okay, then we're not going to come.
Yeah.
And I told them, I was like, I'm in a wheelchair, fell, like I heard it snap. What do I do? And they were like, you need to just get yourself to the hospital. At this point, we didn't have a car. I didn't have you around because you were 500 meters away.
Yeah, getting my hair cut on my way back.
And at this point, some more neighbors came out as well because they all heard me scream, basically. And my legs started swelling straight away. And then you came cycling.
Yeah, I came cycling around the corner, and then I remember coming up the pavement, and then I see loads of people like outside our house. And I was just wondering, what is going on? And then I saw you on the floor, and I was just like, oh my God, like, if you, like, I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. I just thought you'd fallen and maybe, you know, twisted or something. Yeah, again, and I thought it was going to be really small. And then you were screaming in agony, and you were then so happy to see me because you were like, okay, I understand what's been going on and I can then kind of help you. And then you told me that it snapped and you'd heard these breaks, and I was like, okay. The first accident, when Eline told me this, when she did her first accident, she's like, I think I've broken my ankle. I was like, no, you wouldn't have, it's fine. After a few years of knowing Eline's threshold of pain, which is very, very big, and she told me that she'd heard a snap and heard a break, and she said she was in tremendous pain, I was like, okay, this is really serious. We need to now figure out what to do. And at that point, our other neighbor said to us, can I give you a lift to the hospital? Didn't she?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a car, and she was like, couldn't drive because I was just also in shock. So she volunteered to drive us to the hospital.
Yeah. I think that drive to the hospital was one of the most excruciating things I have ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, because we're trying to get you into the car in a way where you weren't going to make or create more damage.
Yeah, and by that
yourself.
time we didn't even know obviously what had happened, but I just knew that I couldn't bend my knee anymore or stretch. Like my
No.
knee was just in one spot. Anyway, she got us to the hospital.
Yep.
Thank God it was relatively quiet.
It was really quiet again.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
I told them, because how I remember struggling, and I would actually still struggle with this now. Like, how do you tell a story that you're in a wheelchair and that you've fallen, you heard it snap, and you're driving, like getting into a wheelchair again, and you're in extreme amount of pain, because that doesn't add up. You know, like how can you fall out of your wheelchair? Here's something like it. I don't know. It just doesn't add up. So I remember I was struggling saying this, but I did tell them, like, I'm in a wheelchair. Like, you know, I fell, heard it snap. We immediately got sent into the triage.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she immediately gave me morphine, oxycodone, because she saw how much pain I was in and was like, this is not okay. So once that started kicking in, after about like half an hour or something, it started to finally feel better. We went in for the first scan.
Yeah.
After the x-rays, they said there's too much, like
There's too much fluid.
Yeah, fluid and blood under the skin,
Yeah.
so around the joint. So they said they couldn't see it. So we're going to go give you a CT scan straight away, or an MRI. I don't remember. And so we did a scan, and then we had to wait. I was in hospital bed.
Yeah.
And all I remember was that we saw the doctor come up, super nice woman. And she grabbed, you know, on her way to our cubicle, she grabbed this chair and rolled over with a look on her face. And I saw that look and I was like, it's broken, isn't it? And she said, again, the famous words, because this was at the same first accident as well. She was like, yes, it's broken. I'm going to show you. I don't know how you did this.
Yeah.
But you've got 8 fractures.
Yeah, it's really complex.
Yeah. And they did, like, it was that complex that they did not know what to do with it at that point. And all I could do was just obviously cry, but like laugh. I was like, I'm sorry, what? 8 bones? Like 8. And I was like, can you, like, show me? It was almost like I couldn't believe. I had to see it for myself in order to believe it. It was a tibia plateau fracture and a Lisfranc fracture, and they are quite complicated fractures once again. And she said normally we would do surgery straight away, but because of my case with the CRPS, it's in my leg, she was like, we're not going to touch it now. We need to discuss this with the whole team. Obviously, this was a Friday afternoon because we were going to celebrate with our family. On our engagement. And so it was all quite unclear yet, but what was clear was that I broke my knee and many bones in my foot once again. There were 2 things I'd always said prior to this accident. And one was, I'm so happy that I didn't know what was ahead of me, because sometimes ignorance is bliss. Yeah. You know, if you know what's ahead of you, then it gets dark. You know, like if you know how many hours, how many years of training you need to get. And the other thing I said was, thank God it wasn't my knee, because I use my knee for so many things as if it were my foot. Like getting up the stairs before, I would hop on my knee to get up on the stairs. And now it was my knee as well. Yeah, that was just terrifying. And I also remember the look on your face. You were in shock.
Yeah, I was in shock, and also similar to what you were saying, and I said at the beginning, like that ignorance side would have been amazing again to have, because we both knew what was about to happen. We both knew the time frame. Well, we thought we knew the time frame because, you know, this was different because now it was the knee and not just the ankle, but we both knew what type of recovery was ahead of you and what type of care I was going to need to give and what challenges we were going to face, and that it was going to be another long battle for both of us. Obviously you more than me because of the trauma, well, the physio and everything you were going to now need to do. But it was also, in one way, because we knew what was about to happen, we immediately, and I'm probably skipping, but we immediately skipped into, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that, we know that we need to get this set up, we need this support function around us. So immediately it was, okay, I can't do this on my own again. We're going to need to get a bigger support function of your friends and your family to help us that were local, so that I could go to work, but also not be just doing everything. So that also probably helped us a little bit, that we could dive straight into it, but it was still, I remember being there at the hospital and just thinking, I don't know if I've got the energy to do this first bit again, because it's so much for both of us. Obviously not thinking that anything was going to change in our relationship, but just the energy of really battling every day and the support that you needed.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Do you remember us telling our friends and family?
I do, because I remember texting your friendship group because they were all away.
Yeah, they were all on holidays.
They're all on holidays together, which we couldn't go to because we were away in getting engaged.
It was more like I couldn't go to the holiday because of the type of the holiday that they were going to.
That was it. And I remember texting one of your friends in the group. So I was like, I'm not going to text everyone because they're all together. And it was Monica, I think I texted. And I told her, and then she was just like, oh my God. And then she was wanting more updates, and then I couldn't give them because we didn't know what was going on. And I was getting messages from all of your friends, and all of them were in shock. And it was towards the end part of their holiday. I think they were on the way home.
Yeah,
they were at the airport. And they were all just like crying and really upset and just couldn't believe what was happening, and were rushing to get back to Amsterdam to come and see you, to see how you were doing. And yeah, I think they were also in shock. And then same with my family and your family. Like, I had to call your mum and your dad separately and explain what had happened. And the difficult part with all of this is that we didn't know any of the answers. We just were getting told what had happened, but we can't say, oh, this is what the recovery is going to be like, or this is how long it's going to take. And I think that's always the difficult part through the whole of this story, is that we could never give a timeline or a prediction or anything, because it was new ground for everyone. You were getting complicated breaks each time, and now you were dealing with the CRPS, so then you have to deal with that differently about, like you just said, surgery or other things. Yeah. But yeah, I remember sending those messages.
Yeah. It was, my God, it was such a crazy time. Anyway, so we were in hospital that Friday, and they basically said...
They sent you home, didn't they?
They sent us home. So they put my leg in a full leg cast.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know what that looks like, that's basically from your groin and your hip all the way down to your toes in one big cast, and trying to try and basically obviously stabilize all the fractures. I remember asking them, please put my foot in 90 degrees, because in the first injury that took so many months to get my foot back into 90 degrees. So they did. And then the first night, I was again in so much pain, like my toes.
Your toes, yeah. And they made it too tight, hadn't they? They made it kind of too enclosed around your toes.
Well,
was that right?
Well, yeah, that's what I think it was, because at one point I couldn't feel my little toe anymore.
No, yeah.
And so we tried to open it a little bit more with scissors in the middle of the night and try and just take control over the situation, but it didn't really help. So we went back to the hospital, I think the day after already.
We did, yeah. We went back in, even though they said come back on Monday. We're like, no, you're in so much pain. Yeah. Sorry, I had the hiccups. And it wasn't just the pain of the leg now. Yeah, it was also the toes. It was just so uncomfortable. And it's like, this is something we should be able to manage, because that's not broken. So let's not create extra pain and extra problems. Let's try and control what we can control.
Yeah. And also, you obviously always hear from doctors, if you have a lot of pain when you're in a cast, come back, because something that's called the compartment syndrome.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing with CRPS, and for all the listeners who have any type of chronic pain, no, the difficulty is, when is it your chronic pain and when is it a new pain?
Yeah.
I had 8 fractures in my leg. So when is it the fractures? When is it the pain? When is it a cast that is too tight? Yeah. How on earth are you going to distinguish that? Yeah. We went back, and over those next few weeks, we went back 3 more times.
We did, yeah.
Because it was just so uncomfortable. And at one point, oh my God, I remember that we had discussions around, I really did not want to call the hospital again to say we're going to come back again because of the cast. And you were pushing me to be like, you are in so much pain. This is not okay. They need to fix something with the cast.
Again, I felt like that was in our control to do. And I felt like, I think because of the first accident, like I'm British, and so it's always like, okay, we do what people say, and we do what people in authority will just say, tell us to do, and don't cause a fuss because, you know, that's not what, be proper and all of those things. Because of the first accident and everything that we'd been through with, as we've talked about, those horrible doctors and stuff, thankfully these doctors were really nice, but I was like, no, like, I'm not doing this again. Like, we know what we need, and I'm not going to just sit around and wait for you to get in more pain. It's not fair. This shouldn't be happening. We're going to go back and we're going to fix it. And I kind of started putting my foot down, not with you, but just in general about the whole process. Yeah. And I just wasn't going to take no for an answer. We were going to get the right treatment, the best treatment. If we didn't like someone that was working with us, then I would speak up and explain to them that things need to happen in a certain way. And it might sound a bit over the top or maybe forced or just rude, but everyone needs to understand that this was like the second time this is happening. And actually, we'd been through so much that I really did not mind. I'm like, I want us to do what's right for you in that situation. And I did not care at that point. I was like, no, I'm going to make sure you're okay.
And I'm super grateful that you did.
Because you weren't in the nicest possible way. Yeah. You were in so much pain that you couldn't concentrate on all of those other bits. No. You needed me to do that. Yeah. Which was me stepping out of my comfort zone, but it's like, no, I have to do this for you so that we can move forward. Or else I think we would have been going back into just a yes mode again. Yeah,
I completely agree.
And again, this is in a different country. I don't speak the language. Thankfully, everyone in the Netherlands, 90% speak really good English. That makes it more simple. I remember even being with the doctor and they were explaining stuff to you in Dutch. And I was like, no, sorry, can you explain this in English? Because I want you to do both, because in Dutch, he or she can give you the actual terminology that you're going to understand. But if I left it at that, I would miss out on key information. And so I would say to them, can you please now explain it to me in English? Which I didn't do in the first time because I was trying to be polite and kind and stuff. Now I was like, no, I want to know everything. Yeah. So that I can help you with this. Yeah. And I think that was a learning for both of us. Yeah. I sound maybe a bit brutal now.
No,
I'm like,
yeah,
but I think it's really important that we took control of it.
Yeah. I'm super happy that you did, because I really was unable to. I also felt bad. I was like, I can't go back to the hospital again. You know, they see me coming like for the third time. But I'm really happy that you did, because the cast wasn't on right. I did lose my 90 degrees angle of my foot, unfortunately. But I also kind of knew that it was a long shot. Yeah. To get that to happen. And yeah, that I'm happy that we did, because in the end there is still part of my little toe that is I don't feel.
Yeah, you still don't.
And that is because of that cast, because it's exactly on that spot. So there is a part that it shows that it was too tight and I wasn't just making it up, but that I remember that pain was just, it topped the pain of the fractures.
Yeah, you were so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Anyway, so then we went back home. We were still unsure whether they were going to do surgery or not. Mm-hmm. First weekend was obviously like tough. We had our first people coming over to come and see us. And we were both quite, also a little bit laughy about it. We were very like
relaxed in a unrelaxed environment. Yeah. Everyone else that was coming around to the house was very like, oh my God. And that is the normal reaction to have. But you and I had, like I kind of mentioned, we'd already switched into, okay,
we know what to do.
We know what to do. This is really, really awful, but we know we've got good doctors around us. We've got the rehab center that we'll come back to. We've got the thing to assist us with showers. We've already got the crutches. We've got these different instruments. Like, we knew that bit. So we kind of, which sounds really strange, we went straight back into where we were 3 years earlier.
Yeah. Also in terms of, I remember many things that we were doing where, you know, you had to help me out with like getting dressed and undressed. And then we were also seeing the fun, not fun, but like the funny
side to it. Yeah.
To it. Oh yeah. We already had our routines. Like, it was just kind of like I can imagine that when you've had a baby, for example, and you have all those diapers, and then after 6 years, you have another kid and you're like, I still know what to do. I've been through this before. And, you know, you have your roles, you have your things that someone is taking on. I can imagine, like, we don't have kids, but I can imagine it feels like that, where you just need to kind of remind yourself and then you go back into the old routines of doing things.
Yeah,
I also think
learning
that
to shave your legs again and
exactly
learning to put on your clothes again and
my hair,
wash your hair. Yeah, those were all things we literally went straight back into it.
The only good side of it now was the support network.
Yeah, this helped massively.
It touches me saying this. Up until today, I'm still so thankful for, grateful for everyone who helped out.
Yeah. And we needed it. I needed it.
Yeah. But like the way people stood up for us and were there, it's just unheard of.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, what my friends actually did, and my sisters and my family, we created a group app of all of us together, all of my friends, all of my family, because we knew that Marcus couldn't take the full care over me anymore, because that was just, we
because I was working.
And we learned from the first time that, and we will have a full episode as well on what it did to you and your part of the story. We learned from the first time that you needed at least one day also away from the house, because you were taking so much care over me, or at least a few hours, not a full day, but a few hours to do something for you. And you're working full time in the office. Well, we managed to have you work from home a lot more.
Yeah, because I just joined a new company, and actually they were super supportive. They already knew of your situation from the first part. And then, because I'd been open about it at work and explained what was going on. Yeah. And then when the second one happened, they were like, don't worry, do what you need to do, take time off, come back, work from home if you need to, come into the office when you can. They were super supportive, which helped massively.
Yeah. And then the other days, we basically put in a whole schedule of basically the whole week. People would sign up to come and join me, basically babysit me.
Yeah.
And work, adult sit, and like work from our home. Yeah. Whilst taking care of me. I needed help with everything. Again, like going to the toilet was a 10-minute journey for everyone, because my whole leg needed to be lifted into a wheelchair with a cushion again. It was just crazy.
And we did not live in a big place. Like a 10-minute journey is no exaggeration, but this was going 20 foot.
Yeah. And obviously as well, and this is something that people don't realize, there is no dignity anymore in these moments, because again, my leg was in a cast from my toes until my hips, and I couldn't put it down because the pressure was so high. Yeah. So just imagine, sitting on the toilet with a leg up until your groin in a cast, aka, so you're basically sitting on your cast. So you also can't put your leg down because you're, how the angle works. How do you call that? The lever?
Yeah, the angle is good.
You can't put your leg down when you're sitting on your cast, right? No. So someone had to sit next to the toilet, holding my leg up straight whilst I was going to the toilet. Yeah. And all of my friends and all of my family and all of the people who helped out did that without a single slither of doubt.
Yeah. Or look.
Or hesitation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of deepened every friendship I have.
Yeah, for sure.
In ways that, you don't have with other people who've never experienced something like this, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just so super grateful that they were there.
Yeah.
And so that was how we survived basically the first few weeks, because as well, that Monday after the injury, the doctors had a group conversation about my case, and they decided that surgery was not the best way forward. They would in normal cases, but with my leg and the CRPS, they were like, we're not going to do it.
Yeah. They didn't really know what the outcome would be from it, if it would be better or worse.
Exactly. So they decided to heal from this in a conservative way, which was in my cast. Yeah. I was in a cast for 6 to 8 weeks, 7 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I received 2 braces, a boot for my foot again.
Yeah, and then a knee brace.
And a knee brace for my knee.
Knie in Dutch.
Knie in Dutch, very good. And after those first initial weeks, I also had I was on medication. We're also going to do a whole episode on medication. I was extremely sick again, remember?
Yeah, you were.
Throwing up nonstop. And at one point I found out, I thought it was a morphine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I had this in my first accident as well. And it was the ibuprofen that I was taking back then. I didn't have ibuprofen, but I did have the same NSAIDs, the same compound, how do you say that, like same bracket of medication, let's say it like that. And so I stopped that, and then I started to feel a little bit better, but I was still on a high dose of morphine.
Yeah.
So after 7 weeks, I got those 2 braces, and that's also when I started to try physio again. My physios, obviously, they were in shock as well.
Yeah.
Like all my therapists were in extreme shock.
Yeah.
And take him to our house to start training with me.
Yeah. Yeah, because it didn't make sense for you to go to them because it would take so long and it just wouldn't, and it wasn't possible. And again, similar to episode 1, you wouldn't be able to do that much.
No.
So for you to go there to do 2 minutes worth of an exercise wasn't worth it. So they would come to us, which was thankfully around the corner for the majority of them.
I started training my knee. By this time, my knee had been in one position for 7 weeks. Yeah. There was still a lot of fluid around it, a lot of like blood and fluid and everything. And there was another physio who knew a lot about knees, and he came to work on my knee. Yeah. I literally think I killed him almost. I was borderline trying to like hold myself together. The pain.
Yeah.
My God. And Marcus had to practice with me at one point.
Yeah.
The exercise was to basically hold one hand under my knee and then with the other hand holding my ankle and basically try to get a little bit of movement.
Like drop one and lift one up.
Yeah.
It was,
There was maybe like a 2-degree angle that I was able to do.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Yeah.
And the physio really pushed through those pain barriers.
Yeah, because I really didn't want to. You kept on telling me, okay, push a little bit more, push a bit more. And as you do, you don't want to see your partner in pain. And I felt like I was the one doing it. And also I wasn't an expert. So I thought if I do it too much, am I going to create even more problems? Yeah. So it was difficult for me at that point. So when the physio came, I know you were in a lot of pain. I'm just really happy that they were there to do it because they knew that barrier that you could work with them.
Anyways, I also called the rehabilitation center again that I was supposed to go for the second round. And I told them what happened. And I said, can I please come as soon as possible to try to start over? Like I knew exactly what you were saying. We knew what we needed to do. So my goal was as well, as soon as I can, go back into the rehab center.
Yeah. In essence, we wanted to skip like a year and a half that we had from break 1 or in break 2. It's like we can skip all of that section. Let's go straight into rehab.
Exactly. The physios in Amsterdam tried to get me,
ready
get a little bit of movement in. After 3 months after the break, I was allowed to go back to the rehab center. It was quite insane how that went because I remember having the first intro meeting again because they were like, we need to know what happened, what is going on to see if you can actually be readmitted. And I was there and they said you can start next week.
Yeah. We were so happy.
We were so happy because the waiting lists for these centers are so long and they knew we need to go as quickly as we can to get me back to a place as quickly as we can to not lose. Because that was also the thing. I was so terrified that I lost everything that I had worked 3.5 years for.
Yeah.
And I did. If anything, I was worse off than the beginning.
Because of your knee this time.
Exactly.
I remember seeing the state of your leg. It was like there was literally no muscle in your calf. There was hardly anything in your quad, so your upper thigh. Just the contrast between your right and left leg was
scary.
Yeah, scary. Yeah, and I don't think of another word. It was just unbelievable to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a worse position because you now needed to train up your whole leg.
Yeah, and that was like we knew that. I think that there was one point during within those 3 months that I remember I was so numb, and I remember thinking I feel like I'm in a pool and I'm floating and I just can't keep myself up anymore. Like I need other people to keep me up. I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
That's basically how I felt those months. And then
you kept on saying that to me as well. You were like, I don't know if I can do this again. I don't know if I can get through this. Will I ever walk? Will I be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life? I don't know if I've got the energy and the willpower to keep on going. Yeah.
Because
and
also
over.
remember, right before the accident, I was cycling home.
Yeah.
And I was pulling those faces like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore
Yeah.
after 3.5 years. And then this happened and it was like, I have so many years ahead of me of doing this again. I don't know if I can do this. I literally did not know.
No.
What also happened in those first 3 months was that I started to get some muscle twitches in my leg. It started in my cast already.
Yeah.
So it started within the first weeks. But they would last for maybe like 10 seconds or something.
A few seconds.
And then it went. As those 3 months progressed, they would last a little bit longer. And initially I thought it was quite funny. I remember showing my mom, look, like it's doing it now. You know, my calf was twitching. It was like, I can't control this.
No.
It wouldn't last for more than 2 minutes or something like that, right?
No, and it wasn't severe. It was just like a twitch.
Then I started in the rehabilitation center and I was very happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few different therapists because they said, let's mix it up. So, you know, there's some different kind of exercise that you'll be able to do. And I went back into the center. And at one point after a few weeks, well, let's say like that, I really felt pushed in the things I had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work for some and it worked for me in the sense of that I was really trying to, I was doing exercises and I knew I had to kind of like go through doing it.
Well, you knew how hard it was to get accepted into this rehab center and you didn't want to just be there coasting. You wanted to push yourself as much as you could.
And then there was one exercise this was about halfway through this rehabilitation period. It was again 3 months, so about 1.5 months in after starting. I needed to get up on a step. And I remember looking at it, I was like, this is way too high. Yeah. I cannot do that. You know, a little like bump was already a challenge. Mm-hmm. This was a whole step. And I got pushed into doing.
Yep.
I was there myself, so I'm not putting, you know, responsibility on them. I also pushed myself and I got into a full-blown panic after I did it. I felt like this was way too much. And the panic didn't come as like a panic attack where I lost breath, but a panic came from feeling a twitch, going into spasm, moving straight up through my whole body, straight up. My whole body started shaking. And we were all a bit like, okay, this is, you know, a bit weird, but it's okay. Just breathe through it.
Yeah, maybe it'll pass.
It will pass and stuff like that. And then I got home and it didn't pass.
No. And I remember seeing you. And again, we thought the first few times it happened, we're like, oh my God, it's quite funny. Like there's a little twitch that's going on now. It was like full body spasms. And it scared me what was seeing you like that. And I got really emotional about it because I don't know how to help you. And we tried to think of ways to help you. Like I would hug you really closely, or I would push against a part of your body to, like, at one point that worked. And we're like, okay, let's do that each time. And then it wouldn't work. And it was like, okay, how do we help you with this?
Yeah. Or it moved to like a different part.
Yeah, moved to a different part of your body. Yeah, of course. But it was horrible to see because this was something brand new.
Yeah.
That we didn't know how to control.
Like not at all. And it was a Friday when this happened. Yeah. On Sunday, we called the doctor.
Yeah.
Because
the emergency doctor, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because we were just like, why is this, you know, this has been going on for like 48 hours now. Why is this not going?
And it was full spasms for basically 2 days.
Yeah.
Until you were sleeping, but you would wake up, then it would start again.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get you to rest.
The doctor basically did not know what was going on.
No.
They wanted to give some medication, but they said, we're not going to give that to you until tomorrow anyway.
Yeah. And also we were trying to get you off of medication.
Yeah.
So the last thing we wanted to do was for you to take another load of medication.
Yeah, because this was about, I would say 5 months after the full. And I was still on very high doses of morphine as well. Yeah. And obviously I'd read up on some medication of other people having CRPS, and there were some really heavy stuff that they wanted to prescribe me. It was like, no, I want to first have another pair of eyes looking at this. Then it was Tuesday. I went back to the rehabilitation center. Spasms were still there. And I remember that we went in and we spoke to another rehabilitation doctor that was on site, because I was like, I have my whole rehab program, but I have these spasms. I don't know what's going on. And like, what is this? Can I train? You know, like, can I actually be here? Yeah. I don't know what's going on, and I haven't slept since Friday. He was the first one, and he was very uninterested. But do you remember?
I do remember, yeah.
And he was the first one mentioning FND.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, never heard of it. And he said, yeah, you can just train. So I went and started to train again, did my schedule with loads of spasms. Like the spasms were up in my jaw, up in my eyes. My core was spasming so much. But we went through it. Then I think after a few days, the spasms subsided. But this was the start of spasms nonstop. And I made an appointment with my neurologist who also gave me the official diagnosis of CRPS.
Yeah.
And we started to video everything as well. And I think that was really, really good. So this is a massive tip for everyone. Start videoing what's happening, because you'll see that when you get to the doctor's appointment, the pain is suddenly a little bit less, or the discoloring isn't there the way it is when you're at home. Because I had these videos of the spasms, I didn't have spasms when I was in the appointment with him. But because I had the videos, he was able to actually diagnose me. And he gave me the diagnosis FND. At this point, I was in my last weeks of training at the Rehabilitation Center, and the spasms did not stop anymore. They were there for 3 weeks straight at one point. And I was so tired.
Yeah, you're exhausted.
So tired. 3 weeks of basically not sleeping, of just being in one big spasm nonstop.
Yeah.
Couldn't get my words out anymore properly because my jaw was spasming the whole time. And I was so tired and everything. That really was a massive trigger for you as well.
Yeah. Well, because, you couldn't eat or do anything either, because you were trying, you were still lying down a lot of the time, and then you were trying like eat something, but you were twitching your whole upper body, and then I would try and feed you instead. And, when you see your wife in that situation, and you just feel helpless, like there was actually nothing I could do to help. And that's horrible. And it feels very, even now, because we'll move on to it later, like you still occasionally get the spasms. And when I see it, you feel really guilty about it, because you know that it's still more of a trigger for me than anything else, because it's just one of those things. I know I can't help you with it, but it does then take me back to those moments where it was like full on. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and I think once that happened in the Rehabilitation Center, I was really done with that as well.
Yeah.
I was done with training there. I was like, let's finish this, but this is the last time I'm going to.
It's not the right course.
And then this was around December. New Year's Eve happened, and my birthday actually happened in January.
Your birthday was coming up,
My birthday was coming up. So I finished in the Rehabilitation Center, and I was trying to make a plan what I could do when getting out of the Rehabilitation Center. My birthday was a very big moment. So it's the 26th of January, and I turned 30 that year.
Yep.
And it was such a big moment because I knew this is the beginning of a new chapter. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I think something in both of us really changed, where we went from, so how I explain it now is that I really went from hope and fighting to get to my old self, to basically having the wheelchair as my base. This is the new normal. I'm going to trust that whatever comes will be for the better. So I went from hope to trust, and from fighting to acceptance. And I thought, I need to start learning to have the wheelchair as my base. I need to start learning to build my life around the fact that I have a disability, and every win that I get extra is just a win. Like, it's nothing more than that. It's not like one step closer to recovery. No. It's just an extra. It's a bonus. This was a super hard message for people around us.
Yeah, I mean, nobody agreed with it.
No. Everyone was like, but does that mean you're going to give up?
Yeah. That's true. Everyone's reaction was, why are you giving up? You should be training more. You should be going into the rehab center again. You should be doing physio again. You shouldn't have stopped this. You should have done that. It was like, why are you giving up? You can run in the marathon if you wanted to in a year's time. And you needed to convince me a little bit at the first bit. Like, you were really determined. And again, it's such an unknown that I was like, okay, well, it's your body. It's your recovery. If this is what you want to do, then this is what we're going to do. And who am I to say otherwise?
Yeah, were you feeling like that?
Yeah. Because it's not my decision to make.
But it does have an impact on your life as well.
It has an impact, but I also knew that there wasn't, if anything, things were getting worse. Like your spasms were now happening and you were still in so much pain, and the rehab
high
center,
doses of morphine.
yeah, and the rehab center we thought that was going to help us did not help us. It made things worse. And so everything that we had done actually was not making things better at that point. It was probably getting worse. So who am I to say that we should continue down that path? Like, no, let's do what you think you need to get done.
Yeah.
And then you gave yourself a birthday present.
Yeah, in light of that new direction that I was going to go into, I wanted to give myself a 30th birthday present to do to do something on my own, but also to kind of,
I think, take control. Like, because a part of this was you were taking control of the situation, and it was basically a big swear word to everyone.
F you.
Yeah, to everyone else, and the whole system and things are like, no, I'm going to control this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do what you're about to do. And that's it.
So I gave myself a retreat. I started looking for somewhere I could go on a retreat that was wheelchair accessible. Guys, that is not easy to find.
Don't put that into Google because you're not going to find any results.
Like, no, none. All the retreats out there are hikes, yoga, etc., etc., etc. It is impossible to find. And then my twin sister actually said, you know what? I'm working with a coach already for years. She's based in Ibiza, and she is hosting her first retreat. Why don't you contact her? Yeah. And I mean, I told her as well, you know, she's your coach. Would you feel comfortable me going to your coach? Because you've worked with her for such a long time. And she was like, yes, try, just go and try. And, you know, I don't mind. So I contacted her. Natalie. And we started to have a conversation, and she said, well, I actually don't think the group retreat that I'm going to be doing is suitable because
and it wouldn't
hikes,
have been
yoga, etc.
Yeah.
But she said, what I'd be very much willing to do is do a one-on-one retreat with you.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And she hadn't done a one-on-one retreat either herself. It was really her pushing her own boundaries, and she hadn't dealt with someone in your situation before. But I think it was for both of you this moment of, well, let's just try it. Let's see how it goes.
Exactly. And so we planned that retreat for May.
Yeah.
So obviously from January until May, I was just continuing training with my physios. I started doing some Pilates and Pilates is a big part of my story as well. So I do think it's important to mention, because part of the acceptance was also getting to focus on the rest of my body again.
Yeah, train the rest of your body.
And part of that was training the rest of my body again, because your body is so much more than just a leg.
Yeah.
You know, there is other parts as well. And I found this beautiful woman, Marit, from Body Vita in Amsterdam. She knows what it's like to live with a disability and with chronic pain, also from her own experiences. And she helped me to start and move my body again, the rest of my body again. And obviously Pilates is a hype right now. Everybody thinks, wow, reformer Pilates is like hits and whatever. The exercises I was doing were so tiny. It was literally laying down flat on the reformer, lifting a leg up, lifting it down. That was it.
Yeah.
So I should actually put some videos up of like my first exercise. I still have them. Yeah. Because it is insane if you see that versus what I'm doing now. Anyway, so those months I was doing Pilates, etc. And then I went on the retreat. You dropped me off at Schiphol and I was flying for the first time by myself.
Yourself. It was the first time you and I were going to be away from each other for longer than 24 hours in 4 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I was also scared out of my mind, like what was going on. But I was also excited. I was excited for you. I was excited for myself. Just because I was going to have some free time, like a whole weekend to myself, which I hadn't had. But we also made an agreement that you wouldn't necessarily give me updates constantly. Do you remember? It was actually, you go and do your thing. And you said this to me, actually. You said, when I want to reach out to you, I'll reach out to you. But I want to immerse myself into it. And at the end of the day, we can have a catch up, but I really want to just be there for myself. And I was like, okay, clear, pretty blunt. But I was like, if that's what you need to do, then let's do it that way.
Yeah. Those 2 days completely changed my life.
Yeah.
And our lives in the end as well.
It did. Yeah. And one that takes your life into a new direction, our life into a new direction. Lots more changes to come, still lots of obstacles, but ones that have ultimately led us to today.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? So that was it for episode 2, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we are probably going to need a third episode on this.
I actually also think so.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is a beautiful moment to stop because this was the moment that everything changed.
Yeah.
And let's do it in a third episode.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Excited.
It's super exciting.
Thank you for having me again.
No, thank you for helping me tell this story. And to all of the listeners who are listening and want to have more information, or if you have any comments, if you recognize yourself, if you have questions, please send me an email, send me a DM on my Instagram, and yeah, just let us know. Let both of us know.
Yeah, and tune in for episode 3.
Tune in for episode 3. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.